The Nevada desert stretched endlessly before the beat-up SUV, its tires kicking up clouds of dust on a road barely marked on any map. Lila gripped the steering wheel, her camera resting on the passenger seat, its lens cap worn from years of chasing beauty in desolate places. She was a photographer, driven by a need to capture moments that could outlast her pain. 6 months ago, her sister's death in a car accident had left a void, and this trip was her way of filling it. Beside her sat Ryan, her boyfriend, his brow furrowed as he studied a topographic map. "Are you sure about this, Lila?" Ryan asked, his voice cautious. "This canyon's way off the grid." "That's the point," Lila replied, a spark in her eyes, untouched beauty. "Perfect for my portfolio." In the back seat, Sam, a geologist with a penchant for adventure, leaned forward, grinning. "Relax, Ryan. The Blackthorn Canyon's got minerals I've been dying to study. This trip's a win-win."
Gah.
Tara, a writer with a skeptical streak, rolled her eyes from beside Sam. "If we don't die of heat stroke first, this place looks like it wants to swallow us whole." The desert was indeed unforgiving, the sun beating down with a relentless intensity that made the air shimmer. The landscape was a sea of sand and jagged rocks, broken only by the occasional skeletal Joshua tree. Lila saw art, Sam saw science, Tara saw a story, and Ryan, well, he saw a chance to keep Lila grounded. They reached a clearing by late afternoon, the canyon's entrance looming ahead, its walls carved by centuries of wind and time. As they set up camp, the heat pressed against them, the air thick with the scent of dust and sagebrush. Lila snapped photos, the camera's shutter a comforting rhythm, while Sam examined rocks, muttering about quartz deposits. Ryan unpacked the cooler, his movements deliberate. "We've got enough water for 3 days. Let's not push it." Tara snorted, scribbling in her notebook. "You sound like my mom. We're fine." As dusk settled, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Lila wandered to the canyon's edge, her boots crunching on the parched ground. She knelt to adjust her lens, then froze. Something glinted in the sand-tarnished canteen, half buried, its metal etched with the initials JH, and a warning, "Beware the guide." She brushed away the dirt, the canteen heavier than it looked. "Guys, check this out," she called, holding it up. Sam ambled over, his curiosity piqued. "Old prospector gear? Maybe? Looks like it's been here forever." Ryan frowned, taking the canteen. "Why the warning? Beware the guide? That's creepy." Why, Tara smirked. "Probably some old drunk's idea of a prank." Lila's fingers traced the initials, a strange pull in her chest. "It's a story. Something happened here." That evening, they sat around a small campfire, the desert's chill replacing the day's heat. A park ranger, a grizzled man named Carter, stopped by to check their permit. His eyes lingered on the canteen, now resting by Lila's pack. "You folks be careful," he said, his voice low. "This desert's got stories. They say a prospector, Jonah Hale, died out here in the 1800s. Starved for water, went mad. Some claim his spirit still wanders, leading folks astray." Sam laughed. "Ghost stories. Come on, man." Carter's expression didn't waver. "Stick to the trails, and don't follow strangers." After he left, the group chuckled, but Lila's gaze kept drifting to the canteen. Its metal seemed to catch the firelight in odd ways, almost glowing. She shook off the unease, chalking it up to the ranger's tale. As night deepened, the desert grew silent, the stars a dazzling canopy above. The friends shared stories, their laughter echoing, but Lila couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She glanced toward the canyon, where the shadows seemed to shift, forming a faint outline of man, perhaps, in tattered clothes, standing motionless. "Did you see that?" she whispered, nudging Ryan. He squinted into the darkness. "Nothing there, babe. Just the fire playing tricks." But Lila's unease lingered. In her tent, she placed the canteen beside her, its weight oddly comforting. Sleep came slowly, her dreams filled with images of a parched man staggering through the sand, his lips cracked, his eyes desperate. "Follow me," he whispered, his voice dry as dust. She woke with a start, the canteen warm in her hand, though she didn't remember touching it. Outside, the desert was still, but the air felt heavier, as if the sands themselves were waiting. The trip had just begun, But the Nevada desert was already weaving its spell, and the spirit of Jonah Hale was stirring, ready to guide them to a fate they couldn't yet imagine. The morning sun blazed over the Nevada desert, turning the sand into a shimmering sea of heat. Lila woke with a start, her hand still clutching the tarnished canteen she'd found the previous day. Its etched warning, "Beware the guide," lingered in her mind, as did the dream of the parched man whispering for her to follow. She shook off the unease, chalking it up to the ranger's ghost story, and stepped out of her tent. The air was already stifling, the scent of dry earth and sagebrush thick around the campsite. Ryan was brewing coffee over the campfire, his cautious nature evident in the way he checked their water supply. "We need to ration this," he said, glancing at the others. "The heat's no joke." Sam, already poking at rocks near the canyon's edge, waved dismissively. "Relax, man. We've got plenty. Let's explore deeper today. There's got to be some killer minerals in there." Tara, scribbling in her notebook, snorted. "You're going to get us lost chasing sparkly rocks." Lila, camera in hand, was distracted, her eyes scanning the horizon. The desert seemed to pulse, the air wavering with mirages that blurred the line between reality and illusion. She snapped a photo, but when she checked the screen, a faint figure appeared in the frame, a man in tattered prospector clothes, standing at the canyon's mouth. She blinked, and it was gone. "Look at this," she said, showing them the image. Ryan frowned. "It's just a trick of the light." "Heat does that." But Lila's unease grew. The canteen, now tucked in her pack, felt heavier, its metal oddly warm against her back. As the group hiked into the canyon, the walls closed in, their jagged surfaces casting shadows that seemed to move independently. The heat pressed harder, sweat beading on their foreheads. By midday, they reached a narrow pass, the canyon's walls towering above. Sam knelt to examine a vein of quartz, his excitement palpable. "This is it. This stuff's rare out here." Tara, fanning herself, muttered, "Great. We're risking heat stroke for rocks." Then Lila saw it again, the figure, shimmering in the distance, beckoning toward a side path. "There," she pointed, her voice sharp. The others turned, but the figure vanished. "What?" Ryan put a hand on her shoulder. "Lila, you're freaking yourself out." "What?" "It's the desert playing tricks." But as they pressed on, the desert grew stranger. Ryan paused, squinting at a rocky outcrop. For a moment, it looked like his childhood home, the porch where he'd played as a kid. He blinked, and it was gone, replaced by barren stone. He shook his head, saying nothing. Sam lagged behind, drawn to a glint in the sand. He dug, uncovering what looked like glittering gems, only for them to dissolve into dust when he touched them. "What the hell?" he muttered, his thrill turning to confusion. Tara, walking ahead, froze. Beyond a boulder, she saw a library, her dream library, filled with books she'd never written. She stepped toward it, then stopped, realizing it was impossible. "This place is messing with us," she said, her voice unsteady. Lila's grip tightened on the canteen. That night, as they camped in the canyon, the air grew colder, the stars sharp overhead. Around the fire, tension simmered. Ryan argued for turning back, his caution clashing with Lila's determination to stay. "We're not prepared for this," he said. "Something's off." "It's just the desert," Sam countered, though his confidence wavered. "We're fine." Tara, usually skeptical, was quiet, her eyes darting to the shadows. Lila, unable to sleep, opened her pack. The canteen was warm again, almost hot. In her dreams, the prospector appeared, his lips cracked, his voice a dry rasp. "Follow me to water," he said, pointing to a path deeper into the canyon. His eyes were hollow, his smile twisted. She woke to a sudden gust, the campfire flickering. Sandstorm roared in, forcing the group to huddle in their tents. Sand stung their faces, the wind howling like a living thing. Through the chaos, Lila saw the figure again, closer now, standing just beyond the camp, its silhouette unmoved by the storm. "Ryan!" she shouted, pointing. He followed her gaze, his face paling as he saw it, to a man beckoning them. The storm passed by dawn, leaving the group shaken. The canteen lay outside Lila's tent, though she swore she'd left it inside. Tara, her skepticism fraying, whispered, "We need to leave now." But Lila's curiosity burned. "Not yet." There's something here, something we need to understand. As they packed, the figure appeared again, leading toward a narrow path. Against Ryan's protests, Lila followed, the others trailing reluctantly. The desert was no longer just a landscape, it was a trap. The guide was drawing them deeper, its promises laced with danger they couldn't yet see. The Nevada desert sun burned high above Blackthorn Canyon, its heat relentless, as Leela led her friends deeper into the narrow pass. The canteen, etched with the cryptic warning, "Beware the guide," swung from her pack, its weight a constant reminder of the strange figure they'd seen during the sandstorm. The visions Ryan's childhood home, Sam's glittering gems. Tara's impossible library had left them shaken, their laughter replaced by uneasy glances. The desert no longer felt like an adventure. It was a labyrinth, and they were following a path they couldn't fully trust. Lila's camera hung around her neck, but she hadn't taken a photo since the figure appeared in her shot. Her drive to capture beauty was fading, replaced by a need to understand the desert's secrets. Ryan trailed close behind, his caution now bordering on fear. "We should turn back," he said, wiping sweat from his brow. "We're low on water and this place is wrong." Sam, usually brash, nodded reluctantly. "I'm not saying I'm scared, but something's off. Those gems I saw, they weren't real." Tara, clutching her notebook, snapped. "Of course they weren't. We're seeing things. Dehydration, maybe. We need to get out." But Lila pressed forward, drawn by the figure she'd seen, a man in tattered prospector clothes, beckoning toward a shadowed crevice in the canyon wall. "Just a bit farther," she insisted. "There's something here. I can feel it." The group trudged on, the canyon walls closing in, their shadows twisting into unnatural shapes. Near a cluster of rocks, Lila spotted something half buried in the sand, a tattered journal, its leather cover cracked and faded. She knelt, brushing away dust, and opened it. The pages were brittle, filled with spidery handwriting, dated 1876. "Listen to this," she said, reading aloud. "Jonah Hale, prospector. Betrayed by my guide, left to die without water. The desert took my body, but my thirst remains. I lead others to my fate, to share my suffering." Ryan's face paled. "That's the guy the ranger mentioned, the one who went mad." Tara's voice trembled. "So this guide, he's a ghost, leading people to die?" Sam scoffed, but his bravado was thin. "Ghosts aren't real. It's just stories." Leela's fingers tightened on the canteen, now warm despite the shade. "Then why are we all seeing things?" "That figured him, Jonah Hale." As if summoned, the air shimmered ahead, and the figure appeared again, clearer now. A gaunt man, his face cracked like dry earth, eyes hollow and gleaming, gestured toward the crevice. "Water," he rasped, his voice carried on the wind. Ryan grabbed Leela's arm. "Don't follow it. This is how people get lost." But Lila's curiosity burned, fueled by her grief for her sister. "What if he's showing us something important?" The group's water was dangerously low, their canteens half empty. Thirst gnawed at them, sharpening their tempers. Sam, impatient, pushed past Lila toward the crevice. "If there's water, I'm finding it." "Sam, wait." Tara called, but he was already moving, chasing a glint in the distance, a vision of sparkling pools. The group hurried after him, the canyon narrowing until they reached a ledge overlooking a deep crevasse. Sam stopped short, inches from the edge, his face pale. "It was right there," he stammered. "A lake shining like gold." Lila's heart raced as she saw it too, a shimmering oasis just beyond reach. She blinked and it vanished, replaced by barren rock. Ryan's hand shook as he pointed to a vision of his father, long dead, standing at the crevice's edge, beckoning. "Don't," he whispered, his voice breaking. Tara clutched her notebook, her skepticism crumbling. "I saw my old apartment empty, like I'd failed everyone. This isn't dehydration. It's him." The guide appeared again, closer, his cracked lips curling into a smile. "Follow," he whispered, his voice echoing in their minds. The air grew heavier, the heat unbearable, as if the desert itself was conspiring against them. Back at camp, the group argued, their trust fraying. Ryan accused Leela of dragging them into danger, while Sam's recklessness clashed with Tara's caution. Leela, clutching the journal, read further. "The guide lures with what you desire most, but it leads to death. His canteen binds him to the sands. We need to destroy it, Leela said, holding up the canteen.
Right.
Ryan shook his head. Or we leave now, before we're too far gone. As night fell, the guide's figure stood at the camp's edge, its eyes glowing in the darkness. The friends huddled together, their water nearly gone, their minds clouded with visions. The desert was no longer just a place, it was a predator, and the guide was its hunter, drawing them deeper into his trap. The Nevada desert had become a prison of sand and heat, its vastness closing in around the four friends as they huddled in their campsite. The fire casting flickering shadows on the canyon walls. Lila clutched the journal and the tarnished canteen, her mind racing with Jonah Hale's words. The guide lures with what you desire most, but it leads to death. The visions they'd seen, Ryan's father, Sam's gems, Tara's library, Leela's sister, were no mere tricks of the mind. The guide, the spirit of the betrayed prospector, was manipulating them, and their water was nearly gone. Lila's voice was steady despite her fear. We can't stay here. The journal says the canteen binds him. If we destroy it, maybe we stop him. Ryan, his face drawn with exhaustion, shook his head. Or we make it worse. We need to leave, Lila. Now. Sam, nursing a bruised ankle from his near fall into the crevasse, snapped. And go where? We're lost, and that thing's messing with our heads. Tara, her skepticism replaced by dread, clutched her notebook like a lifeline. It's not just in our heads. I saw my sister's grave out there, except she's alive. This place is cursed. The air grew heavier, the desert's silence oppressive. In the distance, the guide appeared again, his gaunt figure shimmering at the canyon's edge, beckoning toward a narrow path. His cracked lips moved, whispering water. This way. Leela's heart pounded, but she stood firm. Can't trust him. He's leading us to die. But the visions returned, stronger now. Lila saw her sister, standing in a lush oasis, smiling, urging her to follow. She blinked, and the image faded, leaving only barren sand. Ryan froze, his eyes fixed on a vision of his childhood home, his father waving from the porch. Dad, he whispered, stepping forward. Ryan, no. Lila grabbed his arm, pulling him back. His eyes were distant, lost in the illusion. Sam, driven by his thirst for discovery, saw glittering caves filled with treasures. He stumbled toward the path, muttering, "It's real this time." Tara lunged, yanking him back, but the effort left them all breathless, their canteens almost empty. The guide's figure grew clearer, his hollow eyes locked on them. The desert shifted around them, the canyon walls morphing into a maze of twisting paths. They stumbled forward, desperate to escape the visions, and found themselves in a dry oasis, a circular clearing surrounded by skeletal trees, a cracked stone well at its center. The guide stood by the well, holding out the canteen, its metal glinting unnaturally. Drink, he rasped, his voice echoing in their minds. End your thirst. Lila's throat burned, her body craving water, but the journal's warning screamed in her head. Don't, she said, her voice hoarse. It's a trap. Tara nodded, stepping back. He's trying to kill us, like the others. But Sam, his face flushed with desperation, lunged for the canteen. We're dying anyway, he shouted, snatching it from the guide's hand. He uncapped it and drank deeply, the liquid dark and viscous. For a moment he smiled, relief washing over him. Then he screamed, collapsing to the ground, clutching his throat. His skin paled, veins darkening, as if ink spread beneath it. It burns, he gasped, his eyes wild. Lila dropped to his side, panic rising. Sam, spit it out! But it was too late. Sam's body convulsed, his breath ragged, as the guide's laughter echoed, low and guttural. You are mine, he said, his form growing taller, more solid. Ryan and Tara dragged Sam away from the well, but the oasis shifted, the trees closing in like claws. The guide's voice filled the air, taunting them with their deepest desires. Leela saw her sister again, pleading, Come with me. Ryan's father whispered apologies. Tara's sister begged for forgiveness, and Sam, barely conscious, mumbled about treasures he'd never find. We have to fight it, Lila said, her voice shaking. Right. The cantonet's the key. We need to destroy it. Ryan's eyes were haunted. How? It's in his hands now. Tara, trembling, pointed to the well. There's something down there. I saw it in my vision of fire. Maybe, if we can burn it.
Yes.
The guide loomed closer, his smile cruel. You cannot escape my thirst. The group backed away, Sam's weight slowing them. The oasis pulsed, the sand swirling as if alive. Lila's mind raced. She knew the guide was exploiting their fears, their desires. But the journal's words gave her hope. If they could destroy the canteen, they might break his hold. But as they reached for it, the guide vanished, reappearing behind them, his hands outstretched. The desert closed in, the visions overwhelming, and the friends realized they were no longer just lost. They were trapped in the guide's deadly game, with no clear way out. The dry oasis in Blackthorn Canyon had become a graveyard of illusions. The skeletal trees casting twisted shadows under the merciless Nevada sun. Lila knelt beside Sam, her hands pressing against his chest as he convulsed, his skin turning ashen and cracked like the desert floor. The canteen lay nearby, its dark liquid spilled onto the sand, evaporating unnaturally fast. The guide stood at the well's edge, his gaunt figure flickering in the heat, his hollow eyes fixed on them with a mocking gleam. Sam, stay with us, Lila whispered, her voice breaking. Sweat poured down her face, mixing with tears. Sam's breaths came in ragged gasps, his body dehydrating before their eyes, veins protruding like dried riverbeds. Ryan paced, his caution shattered into panic. We have to get him out of here. Carry him back to camp, find help. Hey. Tara, her skepticism long gone, shook her head. We can't. The paths can knit's all sand now. The thing's trapping us. Daja's laughter echoed low and dry like wind through bones. Thirst claims all, he rasped, his form growing taller, more imposing. The oasis shifted again, the trees closing in, their branches like claws. Lila grabbed the journal from her pack, flipping through its brittle pages with trembling hands. There has to be a way. Hall wrote about this. He said the canteen binds his spirit. If we destroy it, we break the curse. Ryan stopped pacing, his eyes wild. Destroy it? How? It's Meadowland. That thing won't let us near it. Sam moaned, his lips cracking further. Water, please. Tara knelt beside him, her face pale. He's dying. We need to try. The group's vulnerabilities surfaced in the heat. Ryan, always the protector, felt helpless. His guilt over not being there for his family in the past, surging like a wave. This is my fault, he muttered. I should have made us turn back. Tara snapped, her fear turning to anger. Your fault, Lila? Dragged us here with her obsession. We're all going to die because of some ghost story. Lila flinched, her grief for her sister fueling her resolve. I didn't know. But fighting won't save Sam. We destroy the canteen now. She lunged for it, but the guide vanished, reappearing in front of her, his hand outstretched. The air grew hotter, the sand swirling into miniature vortices. Visions assaulted them anew. Lila saw her sister drowning in a sea of sand, Ryan's father crumbling to dust, Tara isolated in an endless void. Sam screamed, arching his back as his skin flaked away. Make it stop. Ryan grabbed a rock, charging the guide. Get away from her. Swung, but the rock passed through the spirit, who laughed, summoning a gust that knocked Ryan to the ground. Lila snatched the canteen, its metal scorching her palm. She raised it high, ready to smash it against a rock, but the guide's form solidified, his claws raking the air. A sandstorm erupted, blinding them, grains stinging like needles. Hold on, Lila shouted, shielding her eyes. The storm howled, burying their feet in sand. Tara clung to Sam, protecting him as best she could, her notebook lost to the wind. Through the whirlwind, the guide's voice boomed. You cannot end my thirst. Join me. The visions intensified. Lila saw her sister reaching out, begging for help, but when she grabbed her hand, it turned to sand. Ryan relived his father's death, powerless again. Tara faced her fear of abandonment, voices whispering she was alone forever. Sam's cries weakened. I can't breathe. Hush. Lila's determination cracked. We have to sacrifice something, she gasped, remembering the journal's final entry. To break the bind, offer what you value most. Ryan, struggling to his feet, nodded. The camera, your passion. Throw it in. Lila hesitated, her camera linked to her sister's memory. but Sam's life hung in the balance. The sob, she hurled it into the storm. The guide shrieked, the sandstorm faltering, but it wasn't enough. The guide reformed, stronger, his claws inches from Lila. More, he demanded. Tara, tears streaming, tossed her notebook. Take it, my words, my life's work. The storm weakened further, but the guide pressed on. What? Ryan stepped forward, his voice resolute. Me. Take me instead. No. Lila cried, but Ryan pushed her back, facing the guide. I couldn't save my dad, but I can save them. The guide's eyes gleamed, his form enveloping Ryan. Ryan screamed as his body withered. But the storm died, the visions fading. The guide's figure dissolved, leaving Ryan collapsed, his skin cracked, but alive barely. The group dragged him away from the oasis, the desert stabilizing around them. Sam's convulsions eased, his color returning slightly. Tara supported him, her face etched with loss. Leela carried the canteen, now cold, knowing the sacrifice had bought them time, but the guide's thirst was far from quenched. As night fell, they stumbled onward, the desert whispering promises of water ahead. The guide was weakened, but not gone, and the friends realized the true price of survival might claim them all. The Nevada desert had become a graveyard of illusions, its sands shifting like the tides of a merciless sea. Lila, Ryan, and Tara huddled around Sam's writhing form, his body convulsing as the guide's dark essence drained the life from him. The canteen lay at the center of the dry oasis, its tarnished surface mocking them. The guide towered over the well, his cracked lips curled in a triumphant smile, his hollow eyes gleaming with eternal thirst. We have to destroy it now, Lila gasped, her voice raw from the heat and fear. The journal's words burned in her memory. To break the bind, offer what you value most. But what more could they give? Their water was gone, their strength fading. The visions pressed in Lila's sister, drowning in sand, Ryan's father crumbling to dust, Tara alone in an endless void. Ryan, his face etched with determination, nodded. The fire. We need to burn it like the journal said. A ritual fire. Tara, tears streaming down her face, clutched Sam's hand. He's not going to make it. We have to move. Sam's eyes fluttered open, his voice a whisper. Leave me. Destroy it. For me, Lila shook her head, refusing to abandon him. No, we do this together. The guide laughed, his voice echoing like wind through bones. Your offerings are insufficient. Thirst claims all. The oasis pulsed, the skeletal trees closing in, their branches like grasping fingers. Lila grabbed a rock, smashing it against the canteen, but it barely dented, the metal unnaturally resilient. The guide lunged, his form solidifying, claws raking the air. Ryan shoved Lila aside, taking the blow, blood blooming on his shirt. Ryan. Lila screamed, scrambling to his side. He gasped, pain twisting his features. The fire. Use my lighter. Tara, her hands shaking, fumbled in Ryan's pocket for the lighter. We need fuel. Leela's eyes fell on her pack, the last of their supplies, including her sister's scarf, a keepsake she'd carried everywhere. With a sob, she tossed it onto the canteen, along with Tara's notebook and Sam's geology tools. Our most valued things, she said, her voice breaking. Ryan flicked the lighter, igniting the pile. Flames licked the canteen, the metal hissing as if alive. The guide shrieked, his form wavering, but he charged again, tendrils of shadow wrapping around Ryan. Take me, Ryan yelled, his voice defiant, but let them go. The guide's eyes widened, his thirst sated by the sacrifice. Shadows enveloped Ryan, his body withering as he was pulled into the well's depths. Lila lunged forward, but Tara held her back. He's giving us a chance. The flames roared, consuming the canteen. It melted, twisting into a blackened lump, and the guide's scream pierced the air. His form dissolved, crumbling like dry sand, the oasis stabilizing around them. The visions faded, the skeletal trees retreating, the desert returning to its barren stillness. Sam's convulsions stopped, his breathing shallow but steady. Tara helped Lila lift him, their bodies aching from exhaustion. He's alive, Tara whispered, hope flickering in her eyes. They stumbled out of the oasis, the canyon walls parting as if the desert itself was releasing them. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows, but the air felt lighter, the oppressive thirst lifting. Lila carried Ryan's lighter, a reminder of his sacrifice, tears streaming down her face. Hours later, they reached the SUV, its engine roaring to life. Sam lay in the back, semi-conscious, as Tara drove, her hands gripping the wheel tightly. Lila stared out the window, the desert receding behind them. "We made it," Tara said, her voice trembling. "Oh, Ryan saved us." Lila nodded, but grief weighed heavy. The guide was gone, his curse broken with the canteen's destruction. Yet as they sped away, Lila glanced in the rearview mirror. A faint figure shimmered in the distance, man in tattered clothes, watching them go. She blinked, and it was gone. But deep down she knew the thirst of the sands was never truly quenched. The desert remembered, and so would she.